All right, let's face it. Texas A&M was the laughingstock of college football last year. If you open up Instagram on a random Sunday in November last season, you'd see a plethora of memes making fun of the Aggies. They reminded me of the Denver Broncos last season because both teams had astronomical expectations heading into the season. Of course, the Broncos from the acquisition of Russell Wilson, and Texas A&M because they landed the number one recruiting class in the class of 2022 going into last season. It set the bar very high for both those teams, and both teams massively underdelivered, and that gave people a lot of fuel to make fun of both respective teams. You see the Broncos country, let's ride here, and a meme making fun of A&M there. It was comical. People got a lot of laughs out of it. But I hope that for both teams, people got their laughs out. Because realistically, last season for both the Broncos and Texas A&M, it was as bad as it can get. The negative momentum just compiled and compiled and compiled. Of course, you remember last year Texas A&M had that early season loss to Appalachian State at home. That was mortifying. And quite honestly, I don't think they ever recovered from that. So they hit their floor. So if you have a loss like that, sometimes you can recoup from it, learn from it, and find your rhythm, or it can destroy you. It destroyed Texas A&M last year, and just like the Broncos, one loss, like I really feel like the Broncos at Seahawks game, week 1, Monday Night Football, that loss stuck with them all year. The Appalachian State loss stuck with Texas A&M all year last year, and realistically, if they could have just paused the season halfway through and just had a reset, I think Jimbo Fisher and the entire Aggies roster and staff would have really appreciated that because they needed it. They were a lot better of a football team than what they were last year. Both teams, the Broncos and the Aggies, had 5 wins last year. Texas A&M going 5-7, and there were some people predicted Texas A&M to go to the college football playoff. And looking at their roster, it could have been justified. But instead, they went 5-7, and I think it's because that negative momentum just compiled and snowballed week in and week out, and it was tough for Texas A&M to find a break or to find a light at the end of the tunnel for that reason. But luckily, they got what they needed this offseason. They got a fresh reset, time to reflect on last year and prepare for the upcoming season, and there's several other things to take note of. Remember, I mentioned that in 2022, Texas A&M landed the number one recruiting class in the nation. Some of those guys transferred, yes, but some of those guys stayed. Texas A&M has a lot of returning production. You've got Aniyah Smith coming back. You got Moose Muhammad III returning. You have Bryce Anderson returning. There's a lot of big names coming back. And mind you, even with how underachieving Texas A&M was last year, their defense was brutal. They hit hard, very physical. They're going to impose their will again this year. I was at the Alabama-Texas A&M game last year here in Tuscaloosa, and I was up in the booth. I could hear them hitting the Alabama players. I could hear the cracks. I could hear them laying down the lumber. Like, they were getting some licks in. And that's going to be the case again this year. That's just their brand of football, and there's a lot of returning production to sustain that. There's just going to be more cohesion this year. Those second-year players returning. When you go out and bring in a lot of new names, recruit a lot of new guys, the stars are just stars next to a person's name. You get a lot of 5-star recruits, those are just stars next to a person's name. Those are on paper statistics. What you can't measure, what you can't quantify, is how those players are going to mesh, how they're going to gel. And it was rough last year. I mean, there's turmoil in the locker room, there's a lot of dysfunction, but there's a long off season to minimize and eliminate that and enter this year with a new vision. And I think A&M is going to do just that. So, returning production, brutal defense, and more cohesion, that will help A&M improve this year. And with all that talent, 5-7 is the absolute floor. You can only get better. Like I would expect A&M to just win more games. If you win 7 games, that's improvement from last year. I think it's without question A&M's going to do that this year. But perhaps the most important factor when it comes to Texas A&M being a comeback team this year is their hires for offensive and defensive coordinator. Texas A&M brought in Bobby Petrino for this season, and the chain of command, the flow of communication was an issue for Texas A&M last year because Jimbo Fisher held most of the play calling responsibilities when it came to offense. And when you have a head coach holding play calling responsibilities, when you have an offensive coordinator, that can get murky. That can get really choppy really fast. Bobby Petrino has all responsibility for play calling this year. The flow of communication is going to be better, and there's going to be more of a vision. The offense is going to operate more intentionally, and you're bringing in somebody like Bobby Petrino that has a litany of experience when it comes to operating an offense. You're going to see that system operate a lot smoothly because of that this year. Defense, bringing in DJ Durkin. That guy knows how to operate a nasty defense. Like I said, you got a lot of big names coming back on defense this year. A lot of boys who aren't afraid to hit. When you have a guy like DJ Durkin leading them, they're going to bring the pain every Saturday. I guarantee it. So both offense and defense, clear vision, clear strategy, leadership through intention. Texas A&M is going to improve a lot from last year to this year for that reason. Also, you can't forget about Connor Wegman, who's likely going to be Texas A&M's quarterback this year. He was one of the most highly touted quarterback prospects in the class of 2022. Last year, he got some PT. He looked like a freshman. This year, he'll probably come in to start. He'll look like a sophomore. But as he gets more and more experience, as quarterbacks do, he'll fall into a rhythm, and he'll become more confident in himself, and he'll operate and execute more smoothly. There's a lot of talent there. There's a lot of production there. There's a lot of potential there. Just trust Connor Wegman to develop and improve. Improvement is inevitable this year. This year gives me 2021 vibes for A&M. I don't know what games they'll win or lose specifically, but I'm definitely feeling 8-4 or 9-3 this year. I'm not insinuating that they're a playoff team, but I do think that Texas A&M will be this year's most improved team in college football because being 5-7, you have to be. Transitioning into this year, I see them winning more games. There's more leadership. There's more players coming back. There's going to be more cohesion, more harmony, more pulling in the same direction, more synergy. And for that reason, I view Texas A&M as this year's most improved team in college football. The 12th man will rejoice once again this year. Have a great day. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate you and the time that you took out of your day to watch the video. And if you enjoyed it, please be sure to like the video and share it, as well as subscribe to The Era. The more likes and subscribers I get on this channel, the more resources I can attain, and the more resources I can attain, the more value I can provide to you, the viewer. And that is how I show my appreciation for you for the time that you devote to watching my videos. So thank you so much, and have a great day.